make it very business friendly. So outside of that, sure, it's not, you can play music, you can probably browse one website every 3 hours, but you can't do all the things you can do on an iPhone. And it's all about user experience, and that's what the Apple company has been built on. Now, I love BlackBerry, it's a personal choice, but you can kind of see why there's a difference and why one company is not doing as well as the other. Now, I used to have an Android. I'm not a big fan of Android. So the next chance I got to upgrade my phone, I actually downgraded to a BlackBerry. I'm pretty happy now. But it's a really important thing to think about, how products succeed versus product may initially succeed, and something new comes out that engages users, pulls them towards the new product, and they no longer use the old product. This is something, it's picking up now with development projects, but not as much as I'd like to see it become. Don't forget about responsive design. Really, really important. If you think about the responsive web, people conduct a lot of e-commerce activities on various websites, they conduct social media activities, connect with people, discovering access to web searches, and they re-engage. And they can do this to any device: mobile, iPads, tablets, desktop, laptop, Mac, Windows, PC, different resolutions. If you don't think about responsive web, you're going to start losing some of those users. You're going to start seeing traffic kind of dwindle down. So it's a really important topic to think about, is responsive design. This is another one that's not always important, depending on what you're trying to put out there. If it's a website that's going to have global use, yes, you're going to want to think about multi-language support. But this is a very important design consideration. And I always ask all my clients, let's solve this now with design and not during development. And here's why. Here's an example of a campaign that we did for gender equality. It's called the Think Equal campaign last year. Very complicated website driven by Drupal. Had a lot of real-time mapping. We had polling features where people around the world, millions of people, would respond to certain questions. They could get involved, there's a forum, all kinds of other things. We did this in 4 languages: English, Spanish, French, and Arabic. English, Spanish, and French are straightforward. They're all the same sort of languages in terms of orientation, left to right. But Arabic was right to left. And look at how this changes. The social media is now on the left. The map is on the right. All of these menu items. I don't understand Arabic, and I don't know if any of you do, but having done this project, the first navigation element was the last on the English page. This is not just about switching navigation around, it's about where it's going the opposite direction. That was an important consideration during design. And if we didn't do it during design and we thought about it during development, we would pretty much have to restart the project. And every multi-language project that involves a different orientation is twice the amount of work during the design phase. Not so much development, but during design is absolutely is. You want to think about this from the get-go. All of the elements, the logo, the main navigation. Think about a website as big as the World Bank's website. The main navigation is global. There are over 100 languages supported. So you've got to have that many capabilities to be able to support the language transition between right to left versus left to right. And you think about adding Japanese in, now you've got top to bottom. So all of those are very important design considerations we often forget. It's also important to think about this from the beginning because of scalability. You may not need your product or website or mobile app to support global languages today. But you might be a startup, you might be a big organization, but you might say, I'm going to roll this out locally in the United States and think about global expansion later. 6 months later, you're ready to go to Japan. You've got a great investor in Japan, a VC firm that says, well, you've got to have Japanese language support here. Now you've got a problem because you've got to go back to the beginning because you didn't set it up right. So you've got to think about that as well. And finally, clients always say, can we also add this? I'm just about to launch this product. And that's a huge problem. Sometimes we can, if it's not complicated. We can add another menu item. But can we add support for Japanese? Actually, you can. That's a huge problem. So you want to make sure if you're a designer, a developer, a business owner, or if you're the client, you want to think about all of the functionality at the beginning. You can always scale, but during the project life cycle, lock in your functionality, spec during the design phase, that is critical. It's critical to the developer, it is critical to user experience testers, and it is critical to the designers. So make sure you lock in your functionality spec as much as possible at the way beginning. Here's a good example of thinking about functionality specs. This is one of the projects I was talking about earlier, where we're trying to develop technology, Drupal-driven technology, where you're getting feedback from millions of citizens around the world in developing nations, or how projects funded by international aid organizations are progressing. This is in the design phase. I've been in the design phase for a couple of months, and that's really important. We need to not only understand the user experience from the user standpoint on the ground in developing nations, and you've got to think about this. In some nations, broadband is not available. So we're not thinking high-speed internet with easy access to the web. We've got to think about that. In some countries, mobile usage is higher than web usage. And that's a really important consideration as well from a responsive standpoint. So we're spending a lot of time architecting the design from the user standpoint, but also in terms of the design from the client standpoint. In terms of data comes in, how am I going to use it? So we need to make sure the interface is intuitive enough and simple enough that people will use it on the standpoint of citizens giving the data, and people will use it from the standpoint of receiving data and analyzing it and making use of that. So we're spending a lot of time on it's called a feedback loop. It's a project called the On-Track, World Bank. It's not online yet, but you will probably see it in a few months. Overall technology stack, when you think about a technology stack, a lot of products, services, websites are powered by Drupal. Desktop applications, web applications, websites, mobile applications. It's a ton of data that's supported by Drupal and social media integration. And we talked about design being innovative and scalable. Scalable is a very important factor. If you have to choose one between innovative and being innovative with design and being scalable, I always tell my clients, let's go with scalability. That's really more important. User experience is important, responsive design is important. One thing we haven't talked about yet is the importance of testing. I don't know about you all, but in my experience with clients, when we launch a product, we always go through internal testing. We also do external testing. Now the key is external testing. Most times, more often than not, with our clients, external testing is one or two project managers on the client side with the development project, testing all the functionalities, asking us to fix the bugs, looking at the overall design and saying, okay, I'm able to find page X pretty easily, but page Y is not as accessible to be put on the home page. We stop there. We fix the bugs, then we launch. But we rarely test the end users. And when possible, and it's an expensive process, we want to test with end users as many as possible, hundreds, thousands if possible, depending on the number of people you're going to have on the site. We want to gather that feedback. We want to be careful about that because you don't want to gather that kind of feedback at every stage in the project, because then your project's going to go on for 5 years, and it's going to cost 5 times the price. But you want to make sure you test it with a pilot audience before you really launch it. So beta testing is really important. We don't really do this often. And I'm asking clients to think about this. So I'm not a designer, I'm not a developer. I am a business technologist, so I depend on the teams that work with me to do the real magic. And one of the things design always tells me is, as Calvin Hobbes really tells us, graphic design is a creative process. It's not easy, it's not fast, and clients have a hard time understanding that. They want us to spend more time on development and information architecture than they want us to spend on design. And designers often think in the bathroom, as a lot of my designers don't show up until 11 a.m. And believe it or not, every designer is different. The creative process is different for every creative person. And it's really important to recognize in any project. You can't treat the developers the same way you treat the designers. The thinking process is different. The way they approach creativity is different. But that said, it's really important for developers and designers to work with each other. I have seen so many projects fail or have a lot of trouble because the design team did not talk to the development team soon enough. The development team is handed off the designs, and they say go ahead and design it, and they're implementing it Drupal and it's not working, it's not fitting. You try to fix one thing, something else breaks. And this could have been avoided if the two teams talk to each other from the get-go. And that's really, really important. Walter Herb, CEO of the product design firm, Perhaps was our best